This spreadsheet contains fake data about cities with names I made up and populations that I also made up. But we can do some analysis with this. Here we have some specific cities, and from a really big list, I can scroll down this list. I've got, 100 cities here. Potentially you could have a spreadsheet with tens or hundreds of thousands of rows of data, and you would have to, it would take a long time to sift through everything. If you had to look everything up manually, even sorting it, you could look through alphabetically, but you'd have to scroll for a long time potentially. A VLOOKUP function looks up data that is laid out vertically, so top to bottom. So here we've got city, top to bottom, population, top to bottom. So it's laid out vertically, so a VLOOKUP is going to work for us. So here I'm going to type equals VLOOKUP. So what's the value that we're going to look up? We want to look up this city, Rimus. I'm not sure how you pronounce this fictional city. I'm going to hit a comma. The table array needs two things. It needs the value that I'm looking up, so that's the city, and it also needs the value that I'm seeking. Here, that's population. So columns A and B have the values that I'm looking up and also the information that I'm seeking, this population. So I'm just going to highlight the data here. Don't include your table headers here. That can throw things off because I don't want to look up the value capital C-I-T-Y in this table. I don't potentially want a false match here. So I'm going to use my Shift key. I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm going to click the arrow to the right, and I'm going to type End and hit the down arrow key. That's going to jump to the bottom of my table. That is good. Now I'm going to be reusing this table. So I want A2 through B101, that range, that reference. I want those to be absolute references so that every time I copy and paste this formula, the reference to this table does not change. So after I just selected that range, I'm not pushing any keys right now. I'm just going to hit F4, and magically Microsoft Excel makes all of those references absolute references, which is what I want. So the F4 key, I use that key all the time. That's my number one way for making references absolute. Now the column index number. So remember, this is a number. We know population is in column B in the spreadsheet, but inside this lookup table, this table array, the columns from left to right are numbered. So in this kind of red highlighted box here, I've got column 1 is city and column 2 is population. So I'm going to type a 2 here because it's in this, the second column has the information I'm looking for. Now the range lookup, this is optional, but it can be very important. Here we do have to supply it, otherwise we're going to get garbage values. So true is for an approximate match, which I think is misleading. True is used for continuous data. Usually, if you've got an alphabetical list, it can sometimes work. Usually it's for scales of numbers. We want an exact match. So if I have the city Rimus, I don't want to match Romus or something close. I want exactly Rimus. So I'm going to select false. So I use the tab key, the arrow key down to select false. I hit tab to make sure it was selected, and that's going to look good. So Rimus 2343. Let's do a double check. Let's do a Control F find R-I-M-U-S. So it found it once there in my city, so that's good. Let's find it again. Okay, it's not too far down. Here it is in my list, row 20, 2343 is the population. So good. My formula seems to be working. It's good to double check yourself. Now I can fill this down and I can check my formulas. Notice as I scroll through these 4 cells, I'm just going to look at the formulas here. The only thing changing is that lookup value. So it's just changing that one value in these formulas. My table array isn't being updated, the column index number is not being updated, this false isn't being changed, it's just the city that is being looked up, so that's good, that's what we want. We can double check Zuhulon 110, yep. Good just to do a quick sanity check to make sure your formulas are working correctly. This one does seem to be doing what we want it to do. So what's going to happen if we change Zulan to Narnia? Like, do I have Narnia here in my data set? I don't. So if I don't have Narnia, what's going to happen when I hit enter? It's going to give me an error because it's looking for an exact match called Narnia, and it could not find it in my spreadsheet. So I get this NA error here, meaning it couldn't find it. So I'm going to Control Z. I don't like that error. But that is the expected output for a missing lookup value.